good people. Welcome back to the WPMRR WordPress podcast. I'm Joe.
And I'm Rick.
And you're listening to the WordPress Business Podcast. We have Rick from one of my favorite shows, actually, Rick and Morty, this week on the podcast. What's up, Rick?
Amazing. It's great to be here with Joe.
Yeah, man, for real. I love that you picked Rick as your favorite character. I've not had someone pick from the Rick and Morty universe yet. I guess you're a big fan of the show?
Oh, for sure. Well, first of all, I love animations, but I think that just like Rick and Morty has taken it to the intellectual kind of realm while being completely stupid, which is even better, you know?
Yeah, totally. I always liked Adult Swim sort of shows and kind of shows in that genre, but I thought Rick and Morty was the first one that nailed exactly what this kind of animation was supposed to be. Fantastic show. Yeah. Wubba lubba dub dub for sure. Cool. So we've got Rick from Rick and Morty on the pod this week, also known as Vito Peleg. And I'm saying your last name right. Did I get that?
Yes, that's perfect.
All right, cool, man. Yeah, thanks for hopping on. So,
well, I've been working with WP Buffs for a while now, actually. So mostly within my agency, whenever we had clients that we didn't really want to get on our care plans, we send them over to you guys. So that's been the process. But now that we're scaling down the agency, we're transferring more and more of our clients over to yours.
Yeah, very nice. Appreciate the shout out. We're always happy to work with people in the care plan area. Yeah, cool. I know a little bit about you. Why don't you tell people a little bit more about the stuff you're doing in WordPress now currently, and also where in the world are you coming from?
Right. So, well, I live in London, but originally I'm from Tel Aviv, from Israel. And I basically got here by signing up with the band that I had at the time. And we got signed with a record label here in the UK, which allowed us all to move on to here. And interestingly enough, that's where my WordPress story also started, because as we were touring and we were building our profile as a rock band around the world, and we were literally living from the back of a van, it seemed from the outside, like we were pretty successful, playing, in front of thousands of people and releasing 2 albums worldwide. But in reality, we were all dead broke. So I started building websites from the back of the van as a means to kind of generate some extra income for myself. And when the band finally broke up, basically when we turned 30 and it wasn't cool anymore, that's when I said, all right, let's see how far I can get this thing. And I started doing the transition from a freelancer to an agency. Within the first year, we got to 6 figures here in London. And by year 3, we had a team of 12 guys. And while managing multiple clients at the same time and scaling up an agency, it became very evident that managing customers is the biggest pain that, at least the one that we had.
Oh, yeah. I know the pain all too well.
Right. Yeah. So we kind of, within our care plans, we tried to figure out what can we do to make it a little easier for us. And we created this really cool tool that ended up being WP Feedback, which is a communication tool for WordPress professionals. And now this is my sole focus. We have hundreds and hundreds of freelancers and agencies that are already using the plugin to actually transform the way they communicate with their clients.
Yeah, very cool. I have to ask, though, what was the name of your band?
Right. So it was Chase the Ace.
Chase the Ace. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You still find it on YouTube and on Spotify and stuff.
Cool. We may sneak in a little link to Chase the Ace video in the show notes here, just to point people in that direction. Cool, man. Yeah. Okay, so coming from Israel, living in London, there's a lot of talented entrepreneurs and startups coming out of Israel. I think especially out of Tel Aviv. I think the Tel Aviv kind of tech scene is starting to grow up. I think Waze is based in. Yes. I know they're based in Israel. I think they're based in Tel Aviv. And
Waze, Wix, within our ecosystem as well. You have Elementor.
Wix.
Yeah,
Wix. I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Elementor are from there, and WPML, Toolset, Freemuse. A lot of stuff in the WordPress space as well.
Yeah, that's actually that seems like an unusually high concentration that you can't really ignore as a random
Right.
sampling across the maps. Like something's going on, and with the Israelis that they're doing something right in this startup and WordPress scene. Cool, man. I don't hear often the background of coming from playing in a band. There are a few people in the space maybe I've heard that have done music before, but like I came from a teaching background. So I was a high school math teacher for
Nice.
a few years before doing WordPress stuff. I know Sam Smith, who's a freelancer in the WordPress space. He's been on the podcast before. He was a firefighter before, but I haven't had a musician before. So you're my first rock star. So I'm glad we could get you on.
Well, I don't know if it's because I'm kind of drawing this to myself. I met a bunch of people that this was their exact journey, from the Beaver Builder guys that they, Justin started as a band, started in a band, and to a freelancer, to an agency, to a product. And Andrew from Elegant Marketplace was also a musician before he started doing like these kind of stuff. So, and also Mark from WordFence was a musician before he did this kind of thing. So, nice. To me, it seems like this is a really great progression, because being in a band, you need to manage a bunch of people with zero funding and zero budget, and get everything going. And you need to do everything yourself, at least at the early stages. So you learn how to launch products, which is basically launching an album or launching a tour. You got to do your own stuff. So that's how I started building websites, started doing graphic designs. You do your own T-shirts, you do your own everything, right? So it was a great school for building a business afterwards.
Yeah, I actually see totally how a lot of those skill sets can come in. Building a business is not too different than building a band and, trying to do your own marketing and sales. A lot of the stuff it's just kind of in a different space, but a lot of those are very transferable skills, So I dig it. Cool, man. I remember when we met at WordCamp Europe this year, you were handing out some of your pamphlets from WP Feedback, and it was the Ultimate WordPress Survey for 2019. How does your WP business compare? It was a sampling of a ton of WordPress businesses. I actually have that right here in front of me. So people listening, I have the actual pamphlet here that he gave me in Berlin. And I remember reading through it, and I was like, wow, there's some really interesting stuff here. I wanted to touch on the care plan benchmarks, which is here on the 5th page, which is really interesting. It's how many WordPress websites do you or your team manage? And it looks like the majority of people are in the kind of 0 to 50 mark. Up to 10 is just over 150. 11 through 50 is kind of between 200 and 250. Looks like it's about 225 or 230 there. Yeah. But there are only a few people, it looks like 40 people here from survey results, 40-ish.
Less than 10%, yeah.
Less than 10% managing 100 plus sites, which to me was very interesting. It's much lower than I thought it would be. With so many websites out there, there must be so many people out there who need this ongoing support that, have trouble with the open sourceness of WordPress that can be a little messy sometimes. It was surprising to me that so few people were managing 100 plus sites, because to me it seems like they haven't yet reached the scale. Maybe a lot of people are at 0 through 50. Very few companies have moved really to push this as a kind of a primary driver of their business. Maybe it's like a piece of the business, it sounds like, for a lot of people, but not a primary piece. I don't know what you thought about that, or when you got these feedback results, what you thought when you were reading that.
So first of all, when we did this, it was mostly doing this entire survey was a way for me to do like a bit of market research before launching WP Feedback. And the idea was to just figure out if the problems that I have within my business are shared within the community, or if it's just within my head, so I asked the same questions that I had. And when we actually analyzed the results, first of all, luckily, or maybe unfortunately, this problem is real, and it's a huge problem in the community. And these numbers actually illustrate that, because to me, when I was looking at how many WordPress websites do you or your team manage on an ongoing basis, the care plan question, understanding that people stop at 50, it really illustrates the fact that they they are struggling to break this glass ceiling that a lot of us are experiencing within the agency model, or when managing multiple clients. Things become hectic, and it's hard to create the proper systems in place and to have the workflows that can that allow each one of these customers to feel like they're the only one, if you will. And I think that this is what kind of stops people from doing it. And you will see the same numbers as we're looking at, how many websites have you built in the last 3 months? So the majority are just at the few. While only a few people manage to kind of like crack the 11 plus. And, 11 plus doesn't seem like a lot of websites to build in 3 months, if you're a huge agency. But even that, you can see that there's only like about 10% that reach that. So 90% are building less than 10 websites in 3 months. So these numbers were really interesting. But if we're already talking about this one, something that kind of drew my attention more than anything is the next point. How do you provide support, and how do you communicate with your customers to get them to gather content and approve the designs? And the huge majority is on emails. And I think that this is where the problem lies, because I think that you would agree with me, Joe, when you're managing your customers and WP Buffs, I imagine, I don't know how many websites you guys are managing, but I imagine that you're well in the 100 plus kind of bracket, right? So imagine you doing this just with email. No way it would work. You just get lost on day one. So I think that this is where the problem lies. If people move away from thinking about this, like I'm going to communicate with customers just via email and try to find better ways of doing it, this will allow them to manage more clients without getting lost.
Yeah, this part was really interesting to me. I mean, it's not just the majority; it's like an insane majority are just collecting content from clients via email. As you scale, this becomes super difficult to maintain, and I think this is something that honestly, like we've struggled with, because we do a lot of our support via email, and no one's sending us. We don't really do many big projects for people. Like, we're not doing a lot of custom dev. Most of our stuff through the care plans is kind of ongoing support and small edits and things like that. But even then, just to do everything via email is still a beast. We're kind of in between like email and I guess what this like SaaS solutions would be, because we have a dashboard now where all our clients can log in and manage all their tickets. We have inboxes for all our white label partners so they can see all the tickets sent in by all their customers. And that's something we've actually just recently launched. So we're definitely far from perfect in this area as well. But to understand that what works for you right now will most likely not work for you once you hit 3 times where you are right now, 5 times where you are right now. Everything in the business changes. And this is something people can trust me on, that, and I'm sure you would say the same thing. As your business grows and as it evolves, that's just what it's doing. It's growing and evolving. And with evolution comes change. The business is going to look very different right now than it will in a year or 2 years, or at a certain, multiply 2 times, 3 times. So starting to plan for how that looks in the future is really difficult. And from this data here, it seems like that is where people are getting stuck. It's interesting to see that so many people are doing information gathering via email, and so many people are still at 0 to 50 sites, and only 10% of people have built 11 plus sites. To me, this suggests that there's like a higher level of technology needed to help with the systems and processes in order to hit a point where you can even like achieve scale. I don't know. What do you think that's true?
I totally agree. But I would like to kind of elaborate on this point, because a lot of us think that technology is going to save us, right? Because we're techies, we're all like a very technical people. We look at technology as a way to solve our problems, or as a way to kind of systemize our processes in a way. And to some degree, that's the right way to look at this. But most of us forget that the customer has a completely different reality to ours. And when you're saying, Joe, that now you have like a client dashboard that they can log in and see all of their tickets and so on. We've tried to do that as well. Through the support desk, you get every customer that sends a message to a support desk essentially gets a centralized area for them to manage their tickets straight out of the gate, or for almost any support desk that is out there. But if you really look into how many people log into them, you will see that there are just like one or two, very, very few people that are actually utilizing this dashboard. And that emphasizes this point that we need to look at the processes that we're building, not only from our point of view as the technical people and as the people that need to manage other organizations at scale, but from the dog walker, from the florist point of view, from the guy that is running a bar, running a restaurant. They're working from their phone. They're talking to people, even though most of our day is looking at a screen. A lot of our clients don't have that same reality, that same experience. I even like to say that, when we look at a website, we see the code, we see layouts, we see color schemes, we see the matrix, right? But when the client looks at the website, they see a screen. They just see a box, in front of them, and expecting them to be at the level that we are and log into all of these different places and manage all of these different stuff. Usually that's where things break down, at least from my experience. And this survey totally kind of confirmed that when people tried to use SaaS and SaaS solutions to manage multiple clients, the person that resisted was not the developer, but the client itself, which then resulted to what made sense for them, which is sending emails or even, picking up the phone or sending WhatsApp messages, which is my nightmare.
Yeah, 3 a.m. WhatsApp message. Hey, my website is showing a database misconnection error. Can you please fix it? Not ideal.
Yeah.
I think you kind of nailed that. Trying to push our technology forward has become more difficult, especially as the team has grown and now that we're managing more websites. It's like every change we make to our systems before, like, let's talk about before when we were a small agency. It's like, or a support company, when we had, 2 or 3 people, like, yeah, we can make changes and then tomorrow everything is different. We have 10 clients, whatever. Yeah, easy. Yeah. And now we're managing hundreds of sites. Every change that we make, even small changes, have to really be run through every piece of the business. How does it work with our operations? We do white label as well. So how does it work with our direct customers? How does it work with white label customers? Does it need to work differently? How do we tell all of our current customers that we're doing this and that they have access to this now for making a change or they get something new? And then how do we tell all the new customers coming in, okay, we have to implement an onboarding. Okay, now we have to this is part of the sales process. So we have to make sure our sales team knows about all this. Oh, and then marketing. So we have to change these blog posts. And then, this marketing email sequence, we have to make sure we include it there. So it's just so many moving pieces now that it becomes difficult to make these changes. It's no longer easy. But the white label piece sounds, because we do white label support, this actually sounds like an interesting solution potentially for us, because we actually love dealing with white label partners who are agencies and freelancers, because the most important piece there is the communication. They speak our language. So we're talking with these freelancers and agencies, like, they understand WordPress. And so the technology leap is not big for them. For some of our direct customers, I could definitely see them being like, I'm not using this. Like, what? Like, no, I email you the thing. Here's no screenshot. Just I have this problem. What is it? Yeah.
One liner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just in the subject line. We actually had someone like that once who just put all this. That was crazy. But this seems like what could be a potentially good solution for us who speak to a lot of people who are in the WordPress space every day. So I dig it.
Awesome. So I can definitely see that as you scale and that's kind of the let's say the disease of the corporate world. When you become big, you gotta move slow. So like giants move slow, and that's on one hand, that's where a lot of us want to get to. But then once you become that giant, and then you're not as agile as you were before, any change to the business and any evolution that needs to happen. And as you said, evolution needs to happen. It's not a matter of decision. It's a matter of need, So when you get to that point, then it becomes a huge hassle. Yeah, making sure that everything works together within the different departments. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
I love that you said that. It's actually funny, the timing of that. Just this morning, we were doing our sales meeting, and I was telling my team one of the reasons I push us hard to continually improve is because that's all there is. If you're not moving forward, other people are catching up with you, other people are overtaking you, you're not keeping the position you're in or improving it. And so it's why I try to never put us in an uncomfortable position. I'd always like us to be comfortable, and sometimes that requires pushing when it feels like, we finally just got comfortable. Like, why are we still working so hard? It's like, this is the game. Like, this is how it works, or it's not going to work for long.
I like to say that, comfort is the enemy of growth. So when you are comfortable, it means that you're stuck. But if you're always pushing your comfort zone and trying to do more than what you can, that's when the biggest growth happens.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm on WPFeedback.co right now. So people are interested in seeing what this is all about. WPFeedback.co is where you should go. If you put .com, you may not get there. So make sure it's .co. Yeah. So it seems like right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there a free plugin that people can go and grab and test and play around with, and then there may be a premium version as well, or how does that work?
So it's just premium. We started with a premium model, and we're going to stay like this for a long time from now. The idea is basically because I have a huge vision for this, and having a free plugin from day one creates more of a hassle than benefit. But more than that, the plugin is just way too valuable to be free. We are seeing within our users, we're saving 3 hours per week per team member. So in a company like mine, it not only allowed me to save a few minutes here or there, it allowed me to reduce employees. Literally remove payrolls from the monthly kind of costs. More than that, in terms of completing projects, we're seeing an average of reducing 2 weeks per project from the completion time, just by giving the customer basically a way to interact with us in a way that makes sense for them. But also gives us all of the information that we need without bothering them. So we're basically killing off all of the back and forth that usually happen between clients. So for example, Joe, you must know that pretty much 30% of your emails is a question going back to the client asking, which browser are you on? Which screen are you on? These kind of random, or where is the problem? That's the thing. Or if and this happened a lot within my support team, if you don't feel comfortable asking this question, then the support guy goes into the website and spends half an hour, 40 minutes trying to figure out what the hell the client is talking about, and all of this adds up really, really fast when you're managing multiple clients. So we just completely canceled it. Just doesn't happen anymore. Straight up.
I love your description of the plugin itself, because it's very clear to me that you've taken the time to get feedback and talk to people and do the research via WP feedback to know exactly what people's issues are, because you're pretty much saying you're almost taking the words out of my mouth. I mean, most of the emails we send are to clarify certain things, and it becomes this game of we want to try and minimize the amount of email we're sending, right? Not just because we don't want to send email to customers, but because we want to be as efficient as possible. And so sending an email back to the client, they send something back 3 hours later, that increases our resolution time by 3 hours, and it doesn't really help anybody. The client gets a slower resolution. We have to spend more time emailing. Everybody loses in that situation. So we're always looking for ways to what are the big wins we can do to increase efficiency? And this seems like a tool that could help us to cut out, if you use that 30% as an example, cut out, 25 that 30% and be a lot more efficient.
Yeah. For sure. And the reason why I so it's true that I did the research for this, and, especially being WP feedback, that it's in the name. So it'd be kind of weird for me to not listen or do that kind of the work that involves around that. So I did do that. And this is what that survey was about initially, with 600 WordPress professionals, just figuring out how they do it so that we can fix it before we even created the product. But even now, as we're out on the market and within our Facebook group, and we have a public roadmap, and 90% of all of the new features that we're creating are literally based on user requests. So they tell us what they want, and I like to say that I love the product, but I'm not in love with it. So people can tell me what they need, and if it makes sense to more than a few people, then it's going to happen, and going to happen fast. But even more than that, like the coolest thing, and you said that before, Joe, working with other people like working with the white label customers. I am the customer for this plugin, like I had these problems myself for a couple of years before, and I tried everything, nothing worked, so that's why we just ended up doing something on our own.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that expression. I love the plugin, but I'm not in love with it. Everyone's business, I mean, I mentioned it before, but everyone's business is going to look way different in 2-3 years than it does today. So it's important to love what you do and to love your product, but most important thing is to love providing as much value to people as possible. And As you continue to do that, your product is going to continue to change. But the constant, hopefully, improvement is that it should always be improving in the area of adding more value to people. So as long as you can do that, you can stay in, you can continue to love it without being too connected to exactly what it is today.
I agree. And I think that it's important to have, it is important to have like a North Star, something that just frames the entire thing in one sentence, or something that you can look forward to. And then consider every request or every kind of like a pivotal kind of moment around that North Star. And for us, the mission is to become the way WordPress professionals talk to clients. So it's a pretty broad statement, and that's on purpose, because we want to consider every part of that journey, every part of this relationship that us freelancers and agencies have with their customers. So that's why, we started with the front end aspect of clicking anything and you get that feedback. But then we went on to the back end and did that over there, which is the first time that anyone managed to do this in the back end, to educate clients on how the WordPress dashboard works and all of these kind of stuff. But then it's going to continue with the cloud platform that we're going to launch in the upcoming months, where you can manage all of the website from one place. So everything is being fed into one centralized hub. And even, within our agency, we did the first part of building a website was to create the sitemap. So the architecture of the website, so that we can agree that these are going to be the pages, these are the custom post types that we're creating, and so on. So again, this is a feature that we're working on as part of taking care of our North Star, becoming the way WordPress professionals talk to clients. My goal is that you never have your phone ring, and you never get an email directly from a customer. It will always be through us.
Yeah, love that. So that's the thing that first drew me to be like, wow, this thing's really cool, was the on page being able to click a certain thing and send feedback directly there. So we use this tool called Hotjar, which you may have heard of before. We use it on WPMRR.com actually. So people can click and give feedback, and it sends us an email saying, are they happy with this certain visual thing or not? But that's only for us. Like you add a site to Hotjar, and it's like for marketing purposes to get a little feedback. This is kind of for, agencies and freelancers to use across different client sites. And I'm just looking at the screenshot here on the homepage. It's, that gives you the resolution of the screen, what browser it's on, IP address stuff. What's the priority of the ticket? Is this a high priority thing, low, medium, critical? And then it also has a status as well. So you can have it be in progress, pending review, complete, which I think is a really cool way to get feedback from people in I'm on my website now. Well, the old way to do things, I got to open an email and send a thing and then do all that. But here it's just I'm on it. I click this thing. I click 3 buttons and then it's sent, which is better for the customer and better for us, because we have all the details we need to not have to spend hours troubleshooting, trying to figure out, is this on Opera or is this on, IE? No, it gives us all that information immediately. So both sides win for sure.
Yeah. And we had this kind of experience with, so we had this, one of the biggest triggers for me saying screw this, we got to build this thing, because it was running in my mind for a little while. It just made sense because the best way to communicate with clients, as I kind of experienced it, is to actually have the client standing next to you and pointing at the screen and telling you, no, this needs to be there. We need to change this in this area. I need this text to be changed to that, literally with his finger on the screen. So, but then what usually happens is that when they're standing next to you, very fast, their hand lands on your hand and they'll start to move the mouse, and they're breathing down your neck. And, creativity is at its lowest, so it is effective in terms of getting feedback, but it's really annoying for everyone, for the developers and the designers to have the client just sitting here wasting time. So we try to get the best of both worlds by having that experience of I'm just going to click anything and give that feedback. But even more than that, we need clarity when we're solving a problem. So for example, we got and started saying that was one of the things that triggered this. We had a website, a WooCommerce website with about 5,000 products on it, right? And then the client sent a one-liner message. He's in his own shop, he has like a physical shop as well. And some customer came to him and said, I wanted to order this product, but I couldn't find an add to cart button. So who got that message? I got that message straight away. The add to cart button is not there. Fix it. You go to the website, you look at it, and you obviously see that the add to cart button is there on every product that we looked at. So you go back to the client and you did a screenshot and you tell them, but we see that it's here. So can you explain which page you're talking about and what exactly are you seeing, Anyway, an hour and a half later, we figured that it was just one product that ran out of stock and the theme just removed the add to cart button automatically, So no one would have realized that unless we've done this 1.5 hours of going through hundreds of products to figure out what the hell they're talking about on there. So that's kind of and as opposed, and like I said, in terms of the process, as opposed to just getting that email, you click that button, it takes you to that exact page, scrolls down to where the problem is, open that message, and there it is. You can see everything. So just that kind of example is like, all right, we got to do this thing. Let's go for it.
Cool, man. Yeah. The saving time is a business owner's best friend. So if you can save time and save money for people, you'll probably be able to sell a product or service. Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm on the website right now. It's a pretty dope looking website. I wanted to ask if, is this your first product in the WordPress space you've created, or have you done other plugins and stuff before?
Right.
I don't know.
So as an agency, you create products every day. That's how I like to look at this. And I try to learn from the 200 plus websites that we've built over the years and look at them as each one of them is a product that we launched to the world, even though they're not really ours. We created them and we put them out there. And in a lot of cases, we also helped market them. So that really helped us in creating the approach for this one, because we saw what worked, what didn't work for a lot of our clients. We saw why often they fail, and we made sure that we're not going to do these mistakes with ours. In terms of actual plugin, we did a few of them, but again, it was just as a commissioned project, like integration for something with WooCommerce or with Gravity Forms or all of these kind of stuff. But this is the first time that we created a software that we're taking to the market on our own. And this is an idea that we came up with and we kind of, got to fruition.
Yeah. Cool, man.
And, it's a kind of a cool thing that we are the first plugin in the history of WordPress by a new company to reach 6 figures on the first month as well. So that was a huge kind of even a shock for me, because we weren't expecting that to happen so quickly. But also it proved to me that this problem is real, when people actually need this thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested to know kind of what some of the next steps for WP feedback are. I don't know if you have a roadmap or if that's like a public thing or just internal, but is there anything kind of public out there that you have kind of in store in terms of like what's next in terms of feature releases or just kind of what the next evolution of the product looks like?
Yes. So first of all, we're releasing updates every single week. So that's part of our rapid iteration process. And again, with feedback being at the top of our kind of game. We listen to people. Every bug fix that comes our way, within a week, it's going to be part of the plugin. So we're iterating on a really, really rapid pace compared to any other plugin that I've seen after 12 years in WordPress. And that has been the case since day one. Every single week, we're doing new features and new bug fixes. There is a public roadmap, which is, you can even see that on wpfeedback.co/roadmap. That's going to take you to like a Trello board where you can see what's going on there. This is where people actually upvote certain tasks, so they can add their own things themselves to tell us what they need in order for us to build that. In terms of these are things that are happening every day. And, I don't know when this podcast is going to be out, but whatever I'm going to say that's going to be launched next week probably has been launched a while ago by this time. So I'm not going to talk about the small bits and pieces that happen every week. But the big steps is, first of all, our cloud app, which is meant to be launched in 3 months from today, from where we're recording this podcast. Which is going to be a centralized hub for all of the websites. So as soon as you install the plugin on a website, boom, it already appears within your dashboard, and you can have all of these conversations in one place, manage your own team within it. And that's going to take us into the realm of competing with a support desk and project management system. So there's going to be like a Kanban view of all your tasks. Right now we're using Teamwork. So every time there is a new task that comes in, even with WP Feedback, it shoots it automatically through Zapier into Teamwork, and it's just listed in there. But there's still no two-way communication between the two applications, because each one is different. And also, you have your Teamwork, and then you have that for the projects, and then you have something else for support. And I don't like that concept of having fragmented processes and fragmented kind of communications, basically. So I think that there is a need for one place to manage everything in one go. And, within that dashboard, you're going to have the project management style kind of Trello board or Kanban kind of view, as well as a view that looks pretty much like a support desk where you can manage tickets on the go. But also that visual like drag and drop canvas of creating sitemaps that you can share with customers. You can discuss them even before you start the project. And the cool thing that I like to think about that is, because we're integrated into the database using the plugin, we have freedom to do all kinds of incredible things within the WordPress project. So for example, that sitemap, imagine that you drag around and you put the pages, and you put the posts that you want to show, that you want to have just on a clear canvas, like you're mapping like a funnel, for example. Then you click one button and all of these pages and posts were created. Boom. It's already in there with the hierarchy, with the categories, everything in one place, already generated right into the client's website. So even that is saving you the need of clicking that copy on the new pages every time. The next step for that will be to incorporate all kinds of, allowing you to incorporate templates that you have. So if you already know which page you're going to create, why would you need to import the template onto there and so on, So again, we're looking at that broad mission, the way WordPress pros talk to clients. And this is our mission, and this is what's going to happen in the next couple of years. And Joe, I think that you've been in the ecosystem for a long time, long enough to see the world before page builders, right?
Yeah.
And before we had the ACF, or before we had Toolset and all of these kind of tools, and it seems logical. It doesn't seem logical right now to go and build a page from scratch in HTML and CSS, because you have these tools. So that's kind of my vision. Because I've seen this evolution in the ecosystem, I believe that in 2 years, this is just how it's going to be. There's not going to be a different way. It'll seem stupid to talk via email.
Yeah, I totally hear that. I have this concept of there are all these hosting companies doing fully managed WordPress hosting. But to me, the next evolution of that is just fully managed WordPress. And I think, honestly, it incorporates things like your tool as well to help people achieve that goal. Fully managed WordPress hosting isn't, I think, a step in the right direction. But what's the next step of that? Well, it's just like people don't want to go somewhere for hosting and then get website edits and have, a team do this and that. It should all kind of be bundled into one. So I'm with you in terms of thinking about what the next steps are and feeling like what we're doing today, which I feel it's always the case in 5 years. You always think 5 years back, like what we were doing 5 years ago, but this would be a big jump, I think. So cool, man. I guess last question as we kind of wrap this up, the team around WP Feedback. Is this still the same team you had at the agency? Is it a different team? Is it really just you? Do you have kind of a team or a smaller team kind of helping with the marketing and sales, and then another kind of more product and technical team? Like what do those building blocks look like in terms of building the business?
So I took the entire team that we had with the agency has now pivoted to working on this. So we still have our care plan clients. We're not doing any new projects. We still have a little more than 30 customers on care plans, the ones that we didn't pass on to you guys.
Yeah.
And so because that's just running, so it didn't make much sense to just drop this straight away. Also, we're pretty young, it's just been literally 2 months since we launched this product. So there's still time to kind of get to the point where we're just doing this. I did change the team a little bit. So I didn't need so many designers as I did before, because we're not building sites and we're not designing on an ongoing basis. So instead of that, I scaled down the design team and I brought in a few more people on the development side so that we can accelerate this thing and provide support. Support is really, really important for us to maintain at a really high level. And again, I think that after managing customers through care plans, you get that experience of, after talking to a guy that has no idea about what a website is, helping WordPress professionals is a walk in the park, right? So, so that's kind of in terms of the support and how it's structured. In terms of marketing, I kind of like to do most of it myself. Jerome is by my side, is like my right hand guy here, and he's doing a lot of the stuff with me to make sure that this is happening properly or executed properly. But what I really like is that now, instead of fragmenting my focus around multiple clients and multiple kind of projects, now I have the opportunity to just do one thing right, So, I'm going for it. I enjoy the process of marketing this to our community. I enjoy the fact that I am the target audience, so I don't need to kind of figure out so much, I just think of what makes sense to me and what I want, or what would work properly for my team as well as myself, and just do it that way. What I feel is a little too spammy, if you will. And doing that survey is a good example. We saw at WordCamp, a lot of people are just going around handing out flyers, But I wanted to provide value because I don't want to be, just have I'm not going to say the names, but I gathered a few flyers from other companies just to see what not to do. Yeah. And so I wanted to just make sure that whatever we're doing, we're just doing this with the community in heart and as much value as possible.
Yeah, very cool, man. I think to wrap it up, I think a good example of, going to a WordCamp, and instead of trying to necessarily, sell and be a little bit spammy, you go and try to provide as much value as possible and hand out these, really awesome hand printed flyers of this big survey that you did. You come and find we run into each other. I've had a couple drinks at the bar and I see this thing. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Next thing you know, you're here on the podcast. After this call, I'm actually going to connect you with our COO, Nick, and I'm going to have you make sure you do a demo for him so we can see if this is something that we want to implement. So this is so it does work for sales.
That was my hidden agenda here.
Yeah, exactly. There's always a little something,
I'm kidding. So, but this was like a full-on podcast demo for Joe. Get Joe on board.
There you go. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you hopping on, man. This has been a lot of fun. I always ask people who are guests here just to give out however people can find you online, website, social media handles, all that stuff.
Sure. So you can look, just type in wpfeedback.co, and that's the main website. You can check out all of the details on there. More than that, join our community on Facebook, because that's where the action really is. And you can see what other users are saying at WP Feedback Community on Facebook. And if you want to reach out to me, find me on LinkedIn. I have a huge network of WordPress professionals, and I read all of the messages and I answer to all of them myself. So I'm on LinkedIn if you want to reach out.
Very cool. I just joined the Facebook group, so I'm pending right now. So if you could, go in and just give me a little thumbs up.
You got it.
Come in and enjoy myself. Cool. Last but not least, I always ask our guests to ask our audience and people listening for a little 5-star iTunes review for this podcast. So if you wouldn't mind giving them a little ask, I'd appreciate it.
So wait, I kind of lost you because I'm approving you here. Right. So
that's an okay reason. That's an okay reason to do that. So yeah, just if you could ask people for a little review for this show on iTunes, right. You can just give a little ask.
Okay, so this show is incredible, and I'll tell you why you need to review this, but more than that, just listen to it. Care plans have completely transformed my business, and having this ongoing process within your organization is going to reduce so much stress from your day-to-day, knowing that there is this cushion or bread and butter at the end of every month. So whatever you guys are doing, whatever WP Buffs are doing, and specifically Joe with his podcast, go and support this. Give us 5 stars. I'm gonna do it right after this call as well myself. And yeah, this is really commendable because I think that this is something that the community didn't really talk about 2 years ago, and now it's becoming more and more kind of apparent that that MRR and care plans in particular is the way to go when you want to create a sustainable business.
Boom, nailed that one. If you're leaving a 5-star iTunes review, make sure in the comments you leave Vito's name or something about this episode, something you learned, so that we can forward him a screenshot and say, oh, look at this. What a great episode we had. You can go to wpmrr.com/iTunes. That forwards right to the iTunes page, make it nice and easy for people. If you are a new listener of the show, you have probably binged a bunch of shows in the past. You've been on Netflix, you've been on Hulu. Why not binge a little bit on this podcast? Do some binging that'll help your business move forward. We've got a bunch of old episodes you can go in and listen to. So feel free to go and pick a few to either download on your player of choice or just on the website, wpmrr.com/podcast. Give them a listen. If you have questions for the show, you can email us. We like to try and answer as many questions on the show as possible. You can shoot those to yo@wpmrr.com. I man that inbox personally, so you will get a reply from me. It may not be super fast, but I'm on there every couple days or so. So you'll get a reply from me eventually. WPMRR.com. We just talked to Vito, who's done a lot of work in the care plan space. If you're an agency or a freelancer looking to integrate care plans into your existing systems, WPMRR is a video course where we pretty much open sourced everything we do at WP Buffs. So if you want to try and scale care plans to the next level, if you want to be in this WP feedback survey next year and be one of the websites or be one of the companies that does 100 plus, manages 100 plus sites, then the WPMRR course is for you. Feel free to take advantage of the current 75% off we are doing there as well. Make sure you check it out. Other than that, I think we are good to go. We will catch y'all again next Tuesday. Vito, thanks again for being on, man. It's been real.
My pleasure. I'm writing the review right now.
Oh, yes. He's writing it. Vito's doing it. So appreciate it, man. We'll give you a shout out next episode. But thanks again for being on.
Yes, my pleasure.